everyone can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Move on to item D, recognition.
That's us, Jan.
Come on up, Ms. Fred.
Come on up, Jan.
I got one coming in the back door. Come on, Courtney.
Yeah.
Where you wanna?
Right there, it's good. You're gonna say a few words, aren't you?
Well, just one or two, maybe.
Okay.
So these are most of the people who make it happen in the cafeteria each and every day, and I'm very proud of each one of them. They're all very dedicated. They take pride in what they do. Last week was National School Lunch Lady Hero Week, so I thought this was the perfect time to bring them all in and get them recognized.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
they've all been, well, I won't say they all. Some have been around longer than others.
It's veterans.
Some have been in multiple buildings. Brenda Mathias is a bus driver and is our middle school second in command. Kelly Saunders is the middle school head cook. Any of them will go anywhere I ask them. I can have one of them start at one building and say, hey, I need you at 9 o'clock. Can you run over here and serve this line and run back? They're on it. Christy Kennedy is the head cook at the elementary. Katrina Hutton is the short time, right?
Careful.
I've been there very long.
I think what she's trying to nicely say is I'm the veteran.
I think she's for me lunch. I think.
Oh, that's bad.
Hey, you're not here to pick
Katrina, you get serve his snack.
Head cook at the high school, and she's probably the only one that has held a position at all three buildings at one time or another. Right? You were at the elementary with Pam at one time? No.
I've subbed at the elementary.
Yes, okay.
But
So
not held a
she's-
position.
But long time, so she's done long-term things at each building. They can all do anything they're asked to do. Kay Hosher is also a bus driver. She's the cashier at the elementary. Courtney Elliott is our newest. She's the cashier at the middle school. She comes from Reynoldsburg.
Oh, no, Canal.
Canal Winchester,
Yeah.
Sorry. Kim Dorson is not here. She
That's
comes
right.
from Reynoldsburg. Who else am I missing? Alicia Lortz is a bus driver, and she's our cashier at the high school now. She had been at the middle school. She's at the high school.
Ashley.
And Ashley Traster is the second under Katrina at the high school. And Dr. Johnson has,
Well, I've been at all three schools for lunch, and kids really look forward to it. You're really sweet to them, nice to those kids, and I think they look forward to being in that lunchroom. The high school is always orderly, always. Polite, the volume is down. I like the atmosphere at the middle school. If you go over there, it's quite a team atmosphere that people are together, and lunch makes a big difference for kids, and not only for nutrition but just a break. And so the atmosphere has to be really positive to make school a great experience. So you talk to kids and they'll say, well, what's your favorite period? And they'll either say recess or lunch. So anyway, so thank you for all you do for us and keeping those kind of values for us. So we got a Keymaker Award here. I like to read them before I present them. This one is, some people see a closed door and turn away. Others see a closed door, try the knob. If it doesn't open, they turn away. Still others see a closed door, try the knob. If it doesn't open, they find a key. And if the key doesn't fit, they turn away. A rare few see a closed door, try the knob. If it doesn't open, they find a key. If the key doesn't fit, they make one. So you're our key makers. And don't give up. And, you're always
and
there.
it's true about every one of them, because we've had
Yeah.
many situations. all the years, all those months that we went through COVID and passing out all those meals, we started this way, then we changed to this, and we said, oh, we can be smarter if we do it this way. They're all willing to do anything, and they'll all find a better way to do it or a faster way to do it. They're all very efficient
Yeah, it's just solving problems all the time.
all the time.
So, this Keymaker Award is proudly presented to each of you on May 8th, 2023, in appreciation for your dedication and service to the students, staff of Liberty Union Local School District, Thurston Local School District. And is signed by Jan, myself, and the board president. So I'm going to hand these to you, and you're going to present them.
Okay?
Call the name out again.
Courtney Elliott. Kay Hosher. Katrina Hutton. Christy Kennedy. Kelly Brenda Mathias. Kelly
Got it out of order
Saunders.
there.
Thank you.
And I'll make sure the other ladies get
Yeah.
theirs.
So a round of applause.
Thank
I think you should probably get a picture of all those, shouldn't you?
Yeah.
Put on our website.
Yeah, let's go over here, both you and I. Can you get one with us, Jennifer?
Please.
Yeah, come on over here.
Yeah.
You can stand back far enough to get us all in here. Don't be afraid to get close to me.
By golly, I'll get right close to you. I'm right in here, by golly.
Okay.
Can you move that chair?
Probably, cover them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, there's smile, everybody.
1, 2, 3, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, put rabbit ears on, man. Put rabbit ears on, man.
What?
Mrs. Hutton, what was Mr. Shook's favorite meal?
I think it was soup, beans, and cornbread.
I love it, anything you made me.
Sent her away with a smile, right?
Oh, yeah.
Don't come back for lunch anytime soon.
Yeah. I'll come over to visit
You got
now.
the white truck, right?
Huh?
You got the white truck, right?
Yeah, that might try.
Well, okay, we'll move on to E, which is public participation in our board meetings. We set aside time for anyone from the public that would like to speak to the board. At this time, is there anyone out there that would like to address the board? Okay, with that said, no one coming forward. We'll move on to item F, which is Mr. Shook's favorite, the refreshments. So we will take a short break, have some refreshments, and then start the meeting back up.
All right. She only needs 5.
Okay, we're going to call the meeting back to order. We're going to move on to item number 2, which is department presentations. Ms. Jan Frederick.
Thank you. So I think our biggest thing right now is trying to get back on our feet from the effects of COVID. So we're trying to get our numbers built back up. Most important for us for those numbers, we're good financially, correct? I'm in
Yes.
good shape. But it's important that those lunch numbers come up because those numbers are what drive the number of dollars we're gonna get for commodity for the next school year. So the more lunches we serve, the better our numbers are and the larger the dollar amount for our commodity dollars. That's important. We have some issues with some negative lunch balances. I'm not surprised. I mean, before COVID, we would pride ourselves in being district-wide, maybe $125 negative for the district. Today, we were $784. And I'm feeding kids. You know, I have one at the middle school that owes $82. I had one at the high school that just finally paid off $75. But I'm still feeding kids until someone tells me, stop doing that. It's most of the time, it's not the student's issue, that when that kid comes through the lunch line, it's not his or her fault that dad or mom didn't come through with the lunch money. So till somebody tells me that's a bigger deal that I need to deal with, I'm gonna keep handling it the way I do.
I don't think you'll hear that from any of us up there.
Yeah, I mean, isn't it about feeding kids? And we've had, I think it was the 2nd or 3rd of January, we had a lady come through, called me on the phone, wanted to know what our lunch balances were. I thought she meant her students, so I looked them up. I said, your students don't owe any lunch money. And she said, no, I mean, how much does the district have in lunch charges? At the time, it was $483. So she came that day and wrote me a check. So I sat that morning and I paid off every student's lunch account after breakfast, but before lunch. At the end of the day, at lunch, after lunch, my balance was back to $121
Oh, God.
in one day. So I could, and I know there are other schools that do, go out and solicit and try to collect money from businesses to pay off student lunch accounts. I'm not sure I feel like it's a great idea, because then what? They sit back and they wait for that to happen again.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't pushed that until it becomes a big issue. We next year should be able to pick up hopefully some more students that will be what's the direct cert. So that means three times a year mandatory, but I do it many times a year. I run a Liberty Union roster. I send that to ODE. They match it with Jobs and Family Services. Then that kicks out a third list for me. Those kids then are automatically free and reduced. We have a lot of kids that say, well, or parents, well, my kid's on the medical card. Wait, well, that never didn't ever work before. It's now going to be. Now there's going to be a third column, and we're going to have those kids that are on just some kind of medical assistance. So hopefully that'll pick up some more kids and help with some of this debt. Help with some numbers for Jennifer. She's always pounding on my door, trying to get those numbers bigger. So. So we're working. We're hoping that'll help with that.
Jan, how was you said number-wise trying to get back to like pre-COVID? How do we stand now compared to where we were?
Right now we're at about 27%. At one time in my 16 years, we hit 41%, and we got some title funding for a few years. Jennifer.
Yeah.
I mean, once you get it, it was good for 3 years or something.
Yeah.
But we're back down. We're 27% now. So. Not only are our numbers down for lunch counts, but our numbers are down for the kids that are getting those free meals. Every year by November 30th, I'm not sure if Dr. Johnson does it or if Jennifer does it, there's a consolidated school mandate report that has to be submitted. And it has to say that we have had some kind of a presentation at the board meetings, that we are following the guidelines for all of the nutritional standards that we've put in place. So we count this as we've discussed that, because it's in our board policy, under our wellness policy, and we adhere to that. Offer versus serve. I'm not sure if you all know what that means. We offer the 5 food groups, And then of those 5 food groups, we offer them, the students have to take at least 3. So we became Facebook famous this year because we had a new meal. We had soft pretzel, grain. We had a cup of America cheddar cheese, protein. We had a nice large tossed salad, vegetable. We had a veggie bag, additional vegetable. We had a fruit and a fresh fruit, an apple, and we had milk. So we had all 5 food groups. And someone posted on Facebook that their child, this is what we served, a high school student, was a pretzel and a little cup of cheese and an apple. Well, we did, but we also served all this other stuff that you didn't take.
Right.
So it's like I've told Dr. Johnson, I so want to get on there and say, but I know better. You know, it was one person and it is what it is. So if anybody discusses that with you, that's what offer versus serve is about. We offer it, we serve it, they don't have to take it, but they have to have 3 things on their tray when they go through the lunch line. We've continued another year to be GFS exclusive, which means years ago there were 2 companies. There was GFS and there was Abbott/Cisco. I started maybe 5 years ago doing the GFS exclusive, so we get a rebate at the end of the school year. And this year, when we got our rebate for last year, it was $4,367, and that's because I order everything from GFS. There might be a few items with Abbott, Cisco that are a little cheaper than what I pay with Gordon Foods, but it's not worth the hassle to me to have 2 vendors, and plus I get this nice rebate back. We also got a nice check this year we got it last year in March. We got it again this year. It comes from USDA. It's supply chain funding. So they're trying to help us get back on our feet from when we couldn't get products or we're paying more for products. So it had a base and then a dollar amount times the number of students you had as of October 31st. We got $35,913. So that was a nice check. We continue to allocate some of our funds to Produce One, which is a produce company up by the airport. So some of those commodity dollars that I am allocated, I can send so much money to them, and then every week I order produce from them. No delivery for it. And when you get down to the end, I kind of pride myself in this because you get down to the end and it's okay. You have this much. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it. So you get to the end, the last time you're going to order, okay, if I order these, I'm going to lose $3. If I order these, I'm going to be $4 over. So I lost 8 cents.
Oh, come on, Jan.
I got it down to 8 cents. So that's kind of fun doing that the last time. Probably summertime or early fall, I'm going to have to be looking at some equipment replacement over at the elementary for sure. Today, everything went wrong. I had the freezer down over here, the freezer down back there, and the serving line units, 2 of the units shut down over here. So I'm in the process now of looking into getting some quotes.
How old are those? Just
1977. We've had them a few years.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's time. It's time. I could maybe, Joe could maybe, I don't know, can you unsolder something? I don't know if he can split those and we can replace half of it, but I said if I have the funds, they're how many years old? 46 years old, 45 years old. It's time. It's time. So I think we're gonna try to go that route. Back at the middle school, I'm looking at we've never had a combi oven in this district, so she needs a new steamer back there. So everybody I talk to says, in other districts, don't replace your steamers, replace with combi ovens. They steam, they bake, and they air fry. Basically, same ballpark of money, so that's where I'm headed back there. Additional freezer space at the elementary. Smallest freezer, largest meal counts. So she's got a double door refrigerator that she only uses half of. I've worked with Joe, been talking to Joe about the new concession stand. Could they use that? Then I can get her a side-by-side or 2 singles so she has extra freezer space and then her refrigerator. That's all. I think that's all the money I'm going to spend for right now. Questions?
Well, you're in
Great.
you're in the black, and
I'm way in the black,
a lot
so.
of places they're not, so.
Yeah, yeah. I think, we're okay. Yep, we're okay. I think I'm gonna have a balanced budget or close at the end of the year, and then I have some cash funds too, so that's what it's for, so I'm gonna use it.
Use it or lose it.
Yeah, use it or somebody takes it away and buys a bus or something.
Thank you, Jan.
Thank you.
Jan.
And a second, we have Ms. McClaskey, athletic department update.
Thank you. Okay. I can split the difference here and give this to Reed. Yeah. So, stemming off of last year's report out, this is where we kind of ended last year, looking at getting back to our roots, looking at emotional, physical, financial recovery from COVID, identify the areas that we have concern, look for new ideas and improvements on our heritage, and approach all of those pieces with a deliberate approach. So going into this year, we'll start with the student athlete leadership team. So our new, now exiting executive committee, we have President James Smith. Our Director of Education is Peyton Hochrader with her assistant Samantha Bader. Director of Communications, Brooklyn Dre, assisted by Slade McClaskey. Director of Community Relations, Reese Short, assisted by Saul Wolfel. And then Director of Activities, Abby Riddle, assisted by Austin Schaefer. Each year, our student athlete leadership team chooses a theme, if you will. 2 years ago, it was Failure Isn't Final. Last year, it was all about finding your voice, being and willing to speak up appropriately. And this year, we worked with The Speed of Trust, which is a book by Stephen Covey. All of those areas were identified really by students, and then we provided resources for them. So in the fall, we kicked off the school year by having YV Salty presentations. Essentially, we had the SALT team get in front of our freshman and sophomore classes to share with them what SALT is, and what the expectations are as a student body, and what opportunities the SALT team could bring. We organized the Salty Tailgate, which was at one of our high school football games, and at that time, we took in products for our caring closet. Stemming from last year, the two areas that we really wanted to hit was a caring closet at the high school to provide food, toiletries, school supplies, and clothing if necessary. But we also wanted to look at student study table opportunities. I think I've spoken on this before, but Brittany Hemker, who runs our NHS, and I met at the end of the school year last year. She came to me with the caring closet idea. I came to her with the study table idea. We kind of switched roles. I took over the caring closet. She took care of the study tables because she had the NHS students at her demand, if you will. So the study tables have been going great, and the caring closet, we are going to work on trying to get more information out. We do have students that actively, actually I just received one as I was sitting here, request items from the caring closet, but we keep it in the back half of the storage room in the high school, and then the kids fill out a Google form that is private. We provide the goods in a pickup for whatever needs that they may have. The students put together the Chief Strong Cancer Fundraiser. Came to our attention very early in the season that there was a student over at Lakewood. We have a lot of ties with Lakewood in our student body population, and we put together a fundraiser for them, and we were able to provide some monies to the family. The family was there, received flowers and welcomes from our student section at that particular game. And then unfortunately, our Salty Sunset, which is our annual powder puff and leadership bonfire, was canceled due to frigid weather. Just the way dates fell with the end of football season, starting basketball, FFA convention. We had one weekend we could get it in, and it was about 35 degrees, and the kids said we didn't want to play. And I said, okay, we can do it later or next year. So moving into the winter activities, we organized our annual Nick Ellis Toy Drive at one of our basketball games. It was actually at our kickoff foundation game for girls basketball this year. We did an ongoing caring closet food drive, and then we assisted Little Miss Baltimore with her stuffed animal drive for Oslo Joint Fire District. That was Aubrey Hall, who's down in the, I believe, lower middle school, upper elementary at this point in time. And then, of course, we had our annual lock-in. This year we had 72 participants attend the annual log meeting. Of course, we kick it off with the beefcake volleyball each year. So the boys had a lot of fun getting in old uniforms. They're very picky when it comes to those old uniforms. They have to look just so. And this is the defending championship team. Mr. Jacob Smith captained a team last year to the championship and once again this year. Following that, we go into the riddle scavenger hunt each year. The kids absolutely love it. We just change the topics and the things that they get to partake in. So this is round robin, where they have to get 2 hula hoops around without breaking hands. And we're working on communication, teamwork, and the second picture is called the magic carpet, where a group of students have to stand on a magic carpet and they have to figure out how to flip it over without stepping off the magic carpet. So they're trying to work through their decision making here as a team. Then we had a win, lose, or draw like game if you threw in a telephone game with it. So we had a series of leaders that had to pass the information on to the actual drawers at the end of the line, and they had to complete the picture as instructed to see if they could get that message across several groups of students. And then we did our core value fishbone. So each of those rooms is a letter of our core value, which is PAC, Pride, Attitude, Class, Talent. On the top half, they had to name an example of a good example of whatever core value that was, and on the bottom, they had to list out what would be a poor example of that core value, and then we talked through some of the things that they've seen at games. We were trying to hit the student section this year within the league. There was a lot of focus on issues within the student section. Officials had brought up that it was getting ridiculous, so we came up with a group of rules that we hope to finalize at our spring conference with our new leaders. Essentially, right now, our rule of the high school student section is no name, no number, no officials. So technically, within the league and within Ohio High School, you should not be calling out the other opponent's name or number in a game, and they shouldn't be going after the officials. So we're trying to, those are the negatives, don't do these things. We're trying to now identify what they should be doing as a student section. We want them to be loud, we want them to be proud, we want them to do it appropriately. Oh, and I skipped over that one. So the hot topics was one of the final groups that we did before we kind of broke out to some open gym settings, and it was very unexpected, I guess, on my part. This was the area where you sat down. We had 9 different groups of kids that had been broken up for the scavenger hunt. They sat with the coach that was with them on the scavenger hunt, and the students, Peyton Hook, Red on St. Bader, came up with these hot topics in regards to what would be difficult questions that they may ask a teammate, or situations that would come up and how they would handle it. So for example, one of the questions was, what would you do if you had a team member that was undermining a coach? What would you do if you had a team member that was partying? So it was those questions that they came up with. We broke up into groups. We had some examples to lead up to the discussion, and then the kids got to share how they felt about those things. So we run round robin around the room. Everybody reported from each of the groups, and they spent a lot of time on this. It was very unexpected. It's at times hard to get these kids to talk, but they talked freely in this section. So we enjoyed listening to that as coaches and the people that were there, hearing these kids kind of stand up for that. Coming into the spring, we did recently an Ohio Guidestone Leadership Series. I had a speaker come in. We had each of the age groups during the line period to talk. And again, this was entire classes, not necessarily athletes, but we did the entire classes. Talked about leadership series and what that means in the future for themselves, whether they are a leader or whether they work under a leader, and what that would look like in the real world. So again, we use the Guidestones. We're in the process right now of identifying our next executive committee. So we have the application forms out to student athletes, and we will get together. The committee itself is voted on by their peers. So once we get all the applications in, we'll put out a ballot. The kids vote for the 8 lower levels, and the administration will vote for that president, who will kind of take charge and lead that group. Came to our attention this year that it is very difficult with our current senior classes, because your leaders are all CCP kids, or we had a lot of firefighters as well this year. So we're talking about maybe even identifying some seniors that will come back as part of the executive committee, but as a senior resource team, so that we actually have bodies in the building. So of our executive committee last year, we had 5 seniors, 4 underclassmen, so I had to rely heavily on those 400 classmen that were in the building to get information out, to come up with some of these topics to work with you during the line period. So we're kind of kicking around some new ideas with that. So on the seniors, we have Pride Awards coming up on the 16th. The seniors go out in the afternoon. We do what's called a senior kick-out. So in the morning, we'll take our coach-identified young leaders that are in good academic standing that can pull from class, and we'll do some fun things under the PCA, the Positive Coaching Alliance, work with them in the morning when we sent to lunch, and then those kids will be rewarded essentially by going out and playing senior kick-out with our seniors down on the softball field. So that'll be coming up here in the next couple of weeks. So we've got a lot of ideas coming up next year. We hope to keep, continue growth and expansion in those areas. Facility improvements, we just kind of want to touch on this. We've got some great views from Kevin King's drum class of the progress that we're seeing out at the facilities. So a lot of compliments on the softball, baseball. We had not one but two teams that came to play us this year, and typically you do a home and away, right? If you're home this year, you're away the following year. Those teams asked to come back to our facilities next year. I think that would be a compliment. So even though we're a little rough around the edges right now with the continuing construction there, where the concession stand used to be, we have a lot of people that are liking what they're seeing there. So these are just some aerial views of the facilities. On the right, I just wanted to share, Kevin was out during our Zebra Relays and caught the buses parking down in this area. We all know that parking is an issue at high school. For example, at a football game, Tees Valley brought 8 buses and 3 large trailers last year. That's hard to find space. We had been using the parking lot up by the food pantry, but they now have Friday evening and sometimes Saturday morning, or every Saturday morning, activities up there. So we were trying to get out of that space. We got this gravel lot cleared up over by the Red Barn, post-construction, and we were able to get 6 buses, 3 trailers, and the squad down in that parking lot now, so that really frees up a lot of the parking over at the school for spectators. And it's hard to believe that this is what the track looked like this time last year compared to what we're seeing now. So not quite at the finish line, but it's exciting to see things starting to come together. It's been very challenging. We don't have water over there down at the stadium right now. So when you think about things like concession stand and buying additional porta pots, all of those things that we have to work around, but we know in the end it's absolutely going to pay off. League updates. We know right now that the MSL as stands is the Ohio Division, Cardinal Division, and Buckeye Division. There's been a lot of talk over the past 2 years about some upcoming changes, so I just wanted to kind of keep you guys in the loop as to what that's going to look like. So the Ohio Division, coming into next year, you have 6 schools that are standing strong. They're going to stay together. They're going to form the Central Buckeye League. So they planned on exiting the MSL this year, anyhow, disregarding any of the other talks that were happening. And they are thinking about, I don't think it's finalized yet, adding Kent Academy and Bishop Reed to that group. Those are 2 schools that had come in to play football within the Ohio Division in years past. So they may, round out their league in that regard. Worthington Christian, word has it is right now that they're going to become independent and just basically schedule on their own. And then the Wellington School had already been voted into the Cardinal Division starting next year. And that was something, the Wellington going to the Cardinal was something that when they came into the league, they were promised after a 4-year term, and they were past 4 years, but they did ask to go over it. In the Cardinal Division, again, we have certain schools that are standing strong, and they plan to be together. And then we have the Wellington School coming in, and then Harvest Prep is kind of a wild card right now. They, as in the Cardinal Division, are continuing talks. Whether they leave, whether they stay, they are in a lot of conversations in regards to what competitive balance would be. And I'm not talking about the Ohio High School competitive balance, but within their own sports. We know that Harvest Prep has, they have a great football team, great basketball programs, and it's hard to compete against them within that league, and there was some concerns there. So they are continuing talks. They're not going anywhere at this point in time, and we'll see where that takes us into next year. Buckeye Division, again, 7 schools absolutely remain strong, and we're currently not looking for any schools to come in. There's been a couple schools that have shown interest, just didn't pan out, and like it never made it to the second step of really having conversations with the schools. Tees Valley will move to the OCC in the 2024-25 school year, so they're exiting one more year within our league, and then they will be fully over. There's been continued talks, again, no confirmations, that they will pull the remainder of their middle school teams. They have already pulled football, they pulled football last year, so that they would be able to play an OCC middle school schedule so they can prepare to go into the OCC, but nothing has moved on that, and right now they're still on our schedules. Some league standings, highlights for the year, volleyball finished third this year. We had a standout Caroline Burleycamp, who was the MSL Player of the Year. Honorable mention, Ohio, and she did sign with Elon University, which is a D1 school down in the Carolinas. Our boys cross country district team was the runner-up. And then when we go into basketball, and this is kind of hard to understand, and I was every word of this, but if you had gone to one of our district basketball games where we played Africentric, now Africentric we know is a powerhouse basketball school. Multiple state championships over the last 20 years. We were within 2 to 3 points the entire game with them, and we lost by 10, only because we hit the point where we had to foul and they were making their foul shots. It was a fantastic game, and we were the closest school to beating them within the entire, they did win the state championship this year. So they lost by 15 in the state championship game, so our girls have fought the battle that game, and they had a slow start, but ended up having a very strong season at the end. Abby Riddle was kind of the stand-up player at this level. She was a Central District and District 11 Player of the Year, signed with Bowling Green State University to play basketball there, and just recently on the 24th played in the All-Ohio North-South All-Star game. So she had a fantastic bout there. In addition to that, Teddy Jensen and Colton Hutchison both signed with Rio Grande University. Teddy will run cross-country and track there, and Colton will pitch for their baseball team. Emma Wolf signed with Louisville for rowing, and Allison Sponsor and Caleb Hay both broke school records just within the last couple of weeks. Allison has actually broken her record twice now. She's up to 9.6 in the pole vault, and Caleb Hay broke the school record in the triple jump, which happens at the Zebra Relays. Every year I share with you participation percentages by class, and share that our junior and senior class, in years past has been very low, and that hasn't changed. Our current senior class, only 46% of the class participated in at least a single sport this year. Now, that's such a shame, because coming into high school, that team or that class was probably closer to 75%, and they just have kind of fallen off. Junior class, we know, has always been a little challenge when it comes to being active at school. They're holding right at that 54% mark, which is where they were last year as well. But then you start looking at our younger classes here. Our sophomore class is strong at 61%, freshman class 75%, but you get down into the middle school, we're at 83 and 80%, which is fantastic. So we've got some great programs coming up with the sanctioning of softball and baseball. Middle school softball almost pulled it off this year. They were in the running for the championship, the league championship this year, and they have a bright future, especially considering you have one senior and one junior. Very young team, and they're doing fantastic this year, so we have a very bright future for softball. Financial wise, Jan talked about recovering from COVID. We're getting there. So if you go back to 2018-19, our participation fees were around $53,000. And again, we have not increased participation since I've been here. So we're looking at that same $95 across the board. We lost the monies there when we didn't have spring, and then of course the 2020 year where not everybody came back into their sports. We are back up to an estimated $49,000. Of course, my spring finances aren't 100% complete right now, but we are looking at some recovery there. However, I mentioned last year was a little concerned about official costs and their fees going up this year. So if we look at this trend, again, with some lowered numbers, we have fewer games, so our official costs drop until this year. And unfortunately, we are back up to about $42,000, $43,000 in officials, which was quite an increase from the previous couple of years. So we did have to take that into account when I was looking at some things for the programs. When we look at overall expense versus revenue at this point in time, again, we're ending every year about even. But our revenue is back up 141,000, but my expenses are gonna be right about 142. Again, these are estimates. I don't know what my bus cost will be until I get the bill in hand. We have a few more home games to finish off the officials, which are my big expenses in the spring. When you look at admissions by sports comparison from last year to this year, I showed last year that from 2020, 21 to 2020, 21, 22, we had an increase in admissions, and that trend has continued right back up this year, which is fantastic. So again, in the fall, 39,000 compared to around 51,000 this year. We did implement passes, adult family passes back into this, so that does roll over throughout the year. But we did see an increase in winter admissions as well. So we're getting more people in the gym, which is great. So looking into next year, I think Huddle was on the agenda here in a little bit. So Huddle is nothing new to our athletic programs. They just build separately in different packages. We're trying to take advantage of an athletic department package where we get more bang for our buck. But in addition, we get some cost breaks in that when you look at what the individual teams had been paying prior to. So there's an increase in film opportunities. If you've ever been in Huddle, you're able to not only see your team film, so a coach can only see team play, a player can see team play, but a player can also go in and make their highlight tapes for scouting purposes. It's very easy to use. You're able to, Huddle themselves has contact information directly to schools. I tell you, finding a coach at a particular school, especially when your recruiters are typically your coaches that maybe come and go a little bit, it can be difficult. But Huddle pairs that up for student athletes, so they're able to kind of send off their highlight tape and entering that information directly in a controlled setting. In addition to that, in this package that we're looking at, we will have live stream subscriptions. So we're the last school in the league to take advantage of this, but essentially what happens is they will provide a camera for our stadiums, they'll provide a camera for our high school gym, that's a permanent fixture up there. We would be able to create this live stream access with whatever subscription that we want, whether it's a single season, a single game, full year. We can break that down to where we would want that to be. But it allows, say again, Bloom Carroll was coming over here to watch a game. If a Bloom Carroll grandparent couldn't make over here to watch the game, they could look up on our subscription, pay for the game in the evening, and watch that game from our gym. We would get that revenue. If our parents couldn't make it to Tays Valley to watch the game, they would log into Tays Valley's subscription, pay for that subscription, and be able to watch the game that evening. So those parents, grandparents that can't travel or out of town for business would be able to log in and see those games. I've had a lot of questions why we stopped live streaming after COVID, and quite frankly, we needed people back in the gym and admissions, and this kind of balances that out a little bit, provides opportunity. In addition to that, we all know that I've been trying to chase season stats for a long time just so we have permanent record here. Huddle provides that. Now, in certain programs, coaches will say, well, I have to go in and kind of fix those stats. And that's true. That's absolutely true. Especially if we don't have a Huddle camera. If you have a kid videotaping it and they miss a play, they're not going to have perfect stats. But at least it's something on record that coaches have the opportunity to go back and correct those stats if they do see something. So we're looking into, again, those opportunities. Huddle has always been split between the athletic department. I pay half for each sport, and then the individual teams do pay half out of their fundraiser accounts. So it is something that's optional. Now, in addition, this year, Huddle is actually putting together a baseball and softball pilot, which we will take a part of if we do look into this. Typically, baseball and softball, in fact, I was watching Game Changer, the end of year game, the baseball game, when I first came over here. Inherently, baseball, softball tends to stay with Game Changer. This would be a live access, and you would have all the same opportunities here to watch these games. And again, it's a pilot. There's no promises where it's going to end up on Huddle's end or on our end. But it is another opportunity that we might be able to take advantage of and see where it goes. Second piece that we're looking at, Neptune. Anybody that's been to a high school basketball game knows we struggle at times with our sound system over there. I think, twice this year we had it cut out right in the middle of the national anthem. And bless our fans, they stood up and sang the national anthem for us. But we're looking at ways to improve not only that portion of it, which Noah and Dirk are working, we're finding some options there for better reception. But in addition, I need safe school music. I have a hard time hearing lyrics, I'll just be honest with you. As much as we go through and we'll pull up and it says safe songs, yeah, I might cut out some words, but I wouldn't consider it school safe. And we've had some complaints. So what we would like to do is look into this Neptune. Athletic Boosters is willing to chip in a piece. I think Dr. Johnson is willing to chip in some of the a laptop that we would be able to run this from, but it would be available at our venues that do play music, so that we aren't getting ourselves in trouble with some of the music selections we have. In addition to this, and the reason that the boosters are involved with this piece is you can run ad sponsors. So as part of our sponsorship packages, we would be able to run live audio feeds. If they have their own audio commercial, we would be able to run it, or we could create one for them in one of our immediate classes. But we would have that option, and it would be an additional income on that end. So best of both worlds there. And the last one is just a heads up. So everybody has just gotten used to Arbor. And Ohio High School is moving away from Arbor because just last year they started charging us. And they were trying to increase fees. So they are moving to Dragonfly, which is another popular scheduling site that's used across the nation. And we were just notified that this will come out July 1st, and we will receive training on it May 11th. So I really don't know a whole lot about it, other than they're going to assist us in getting the information, both officials and games, because again, we schedule up to 2 years in advance. I have a lot of games at Arbor, and those are all going to have to transfer over to Dragonfly. So just a heads up, we send parents right now to Arbor Live to see what future games are, and that's all going to change within the next couple of months. So we will roll that into our Ohio High School parent meeting right at the start of the year, so that we can try to get the information out as soon as I know more information on that end. All right, so coming up, sports physicals are back. COVID took them away. The hospitals are now comfortable with coming back out to the schools and providing these services to us. So we have physicals at the high school for incoming grades 7 through 12 on May 15th. We have our district ring softball team hosting sectional finals on Wednesday the 10th. We think against Lakewood. Have we heard? Is the final yet?
Let's just go with that.
The game was tonight, so most likely Lakewood. And then track and missiles are the 9th and 12th at Bloom Carroll in the high school. Baseball will travel to Cardington on 5/18 for sectional finals. And that's all I have, unless you guys have questions.
I have a couple questions. As I look at one, as we looked at the pictures of the facilities down there, I see that we're gonna put steps and railing down at the bottom. One thing that I know that we had wasn't very great when I was in high school, but we did have a visitors softball and baseball warm-up section. I think we need to look at that and get his prices on it, whether you have to get with Joe or whoever it is, whether it's inside the fence. I don't think you can do it inside the fence in a softball field, but I think it was on the outside previous, I think, right?
So remember the list that we put together that had the whole wish list of all the things that we were going to do in the facility? The visitor bullpens are there. So the intent for visitor baseball was that it was going to back up to the softball bullpen, kind of in that valley down there, and then softballs will be, the visitors will be over by their dugout on the other side of the bleachers. It's on the list, it's a matter of kind of finishing up some of the other things that need to happen, like the stairs. We need to finish the landscaping down there, we need to finish the concrete, and all of that was kind of dependent on the finish of the new building, the concession stand and locker room. So it's there. If it's something that you would want to look at a little bit earlier, that would be something we can look into for sure. The other thought was, is the reason that the visitor baseball was going to butt up to the back of softball, not only to save space a little bit, but there's also the thought of putting in the batting cages, the outdoor batting cages behind softball down that flat area in the future.
Well, it's probably a little late for this. I think for the safety of our kids, getting balls batted out and all that stuff, I think that by the time we have next season, I think it should be important. If nothing else, for the safety. You know what I mean? Anything like we can't afford to do it, it's already in the plan, we just need to make it happen. That's just my estimation. You know, I walk down there and walk the facilities, and it looks really great, like you said, but as you watch, you know, foul balls or kids, throwing the ball and you got kids backing up, it ain't a good look. When you look at our side of the field, and it's steep, which is nice, but I just think we need to have something, and it's probably doesn't have to be on the outside of the fence, like you said, but, I think a lot of those places, they come into that facility, they're thinking, they gotta be thinking more than heck, we're out of months, you know what I mean, so I just think we can move that up on the radar a little bit, in my opinion.
It's kind of, I mean, I am glad you're working on this stuff, because you go down there and it's like, that's,
Hey, you're not gonna spring chicken.
No, I'm not gonna because I mean, that's just a wet, that's a slip and somebody's down that thing, so I'm glad that we're taking some action on the steps, because that could be.
I will say that is the most common question I get, like, how do our parents get down here? Like, you have to waddle down the hill.
We could've put a slip in the line.
So, but in a positive light, cause Shopton, so last year Fisher Catholic came over for a game, they had never been here, and this was softball related, they hadn't been here since we redid the facility, and the gentleman was like, oh my God, I wanna come over here they don't really wanna play us in the game, they'd like to scrimmage us, it's like, I'd come over here every year to scrimmage you, this place is amazing, and then this year, Shopton came over for the first time, we played a game, and typically the way it works is you end up, like, they come here for a game, the following year you go there, and she got there, she looked at the facility, she's like, this is beautiful. I'm like, yeah, thank you, so we went ahead and played the game, and afterwards, she said, hey, would you be interested in playing next year? And I said, sure. I said, if you want, we can come to your place, we paid the favor. She's like, absolutely not, I want to bring my kids back to this place, this is awesome. So we'll be here next year, we'll work with our ADs to pencil it in, so there's, oh yeah, she was,
Our facilities.
yeah.
Complementing.
So there's a lot of good work into the facilities, it's just, you just need to button up some things.
It's ancillary stuff, but I think we're just,
Yep.
Yeah, and all that is done in time, and that's not something I can speak of. And
I hear you.
maybe we can get together and kind of rank again. I mean, that's what the intent was in that last list, was to kind of rank like what's coming next
Right.
down that list, because they're doing a lot. Yeah, I would love to see that button. I can't wait until we see that button up down there and landscaping done and everything. It's gonna look beautiful. So yeah, absolutely.
I have a different question, and I got here at 7:39, so I didn't want to like just sit down and start asking, but I do have, I'm curious from your lens and or Mr. K's lens around the drop off in numbers, right? We're 46% for seniors, 54% for juniors, and I'm just gonna say, I know at one time we had phys ed, right? And I'm not saying we need to bring phys ed, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, though, I see other schools doing some things with what they call, like advanced phys ed. This is like some things at the end of the day where athletes are out and they're doing, Circleville promotes it quite a bit. They're doing things kind of, I'll call it coloring line period. Forgive me if that is not the right term, but they're doing things there which are keeping kids potentially at school, because these seniors and juniors are leaving the premises, and I'm wondering if them leaving the premises is causing them to not really need to, like, hey, I'm done at 11. Why the heck do I want to get back in my car and drive back to school at 3? Now, some would say they really care about the sport. It's a fair thing, right? That's why these things are always debatable on what to do. But is there any, you guys have any idea around what we could do differently to get these two classes back up, so we don't see 80s go down to the 50s?
The other question I have on it too, is any of that a function of COVID though? I mean, was any of that where these kids just kind of, they lost steam and they just didn't, get picked back up? That's.
Yeah, they subtract three. Subtract 3 years. So we have a third grade that was really hit hard, and first subtract 3, and they're really struggling. And year before, not so much. Year after, we've got great hope. But, I mean, if you just use that number and think about those and subtract 3, maybe there is part of it. But, you know, I think we ought to look at all of the factors.
I agree. I think you receive somewhat of a decline. I think a natural decline as the kids get older exists. Do I think COVID impacted this? I do, but I mentioned during the SALT piece, I don't think you were here yet, that it was very difficult to hold meetings this year, these 5 of the 9, were seniors and they weren't always able to come back because they got jobs or, you know, they were just out doing whatever they do, you know, outside of school because they didn't have to be there. I think bringing those kids back would help us with the senior leadership. Being in-house, we have so many kids on CCP, and CCP is fantastic. I love the fact that we've brought more CCP back into the high school, because that has helped. But, you know, I agree, an elective of some sort would definitely help in the best of both worlds. Something like a strength and conditioning course or an advanced PE gets those kids in the weight room after school. They don't have to come back in the evenings per se. And they can focus more on school time, or if they have to get a job, because we do have a certain number of kids that I would say, I feel like the kids that have a job now is higher than it has been pre-COVID. It's like they during COVID, when I got a job, they don't want to lose that. They like that money, they like the experience now. So anything to capture a kid's interest, bring them back to the schools, you know, I think would definitely help. A life skills class to go with that, an actual in-person health class. That's just my opinion.
I said you as well, so if you
have
had thoughts.
No, I think I'll definitely just come in this year, just that, you know, we have a pretty idea, give what we offer the kids to keep them in the building. You know, restructure some things, and not let them go, stay in the building to do what they do at home. I know we're going to change some things with job study works, service learning works, and restructuring that more career centers, with the way they guidelines that they use. That way it's in line. I do want to go there and see some stuff. But I think try to go back to the building, in the building. That's a challenge.
And I will say, you know, I went from 21, softball went from 21 down to 13 this year. I honestly don't believe that if we'd had something in place that I would have gone from 21 down. I mean, I probably would might have saved one or two. So I want to be I'm not saying that this is a huge problem. I'm just trying to think through ways in which we can have a positive impact to that number and not continue to see it dwindle.
Well, it makes you more competitive, you know, when you're retaining your people. Yeah.
That's well, and you know, I think you've got a lot of coaches doing a lot of off-season activity. I feel like that weight room is becoming busy a ton after. So you know, if you've got some kids feeling the pressure valve is just to play instead of coming after them. Would they be there to see what the teacher was doing? These are all things that I have no idea about. I just try to think about ways to impact that 46 and 54 and get that. And I don't know what the number is. Is it 60, 70? It's probably not that. Because like you said, when kids start driving, there's too many other things, right? Like you said, jobs is a big thing. You know, world ain't getting any cheaper. So, okay.
If there's time for one other question, I think you're working through some of the resolutions, and there's one resolution you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I included the slide in case we did want to talk about that. So, Ohio High's passed 13 referendums out for a vote this year. 12 of them were nothing but, you know, cleaning up the language. This one in particular is new. It was on the ballot last year, and it failed by, I think it was 13 votes last year because it just wasn't buttoned up enough. What this exception will do, it will allow a public school student to play a sport for a neighboring district if their home school doesn't offer a sport. So this came up in our world a couple of years ago when Millersport did away with football. They had kids that, you know, were upperclassmen that really wanted to finish out their, you know, years, but they were not allowed to go to another public school to play a sport. So you had to move into a district, you had to go private, but you were still one of those exceptions. However, in the private world, online or homeschool, and those are the examples down here at the bottom, you're allowed to do that. So they want to make it fair across the board for those public school students as well. I voted no last time, to be honest, because there was too many wild cards out there. In this amendment, they are now requiring both school boards approve it. So the student that would want to come to us to play a sport would have to go to their school board, ask permission, and then they would have to come to us and ask permission. So there's control on both ends. In addition, it's only for team sports. And even then, it's limited in what I would consider a team sport. So there's talk out there for the three that I mentioned. I emailed these guys today. They're my athletic committee, but it's wrestling, bowling, and swimming. There's talk of, but that's not included in this first round. It's only your baseball, softball, your volleyball, football, and both basketballs. Okay, that would be the only sports that you would be able to transfer that we offer. Now, if we had a student that would go to a neighboring district to play lacrosse, lacrosse would be, they would be eligible for that. So we'll just use Millersport as an example. If we had a student that wanted to come here to play football because Millersport was not able to play the team again this year, they would go to their school board, get permission, they would come to us, request permission, and, we talked about what procedural guidelines that we would have in play, and we equated it a lot to open enrollment. We would look at, obviously, discipline coming in. What opportunities are we providing kids? Is this kid going to, benefit our program settings? We'll allow JV play, because there are times we can't have a JV program. We're just one or two short, would that be a benefit to us? And then, of course, there's other implications. I would have to check eligibility, so that other school would have to be willing to provide me that information for eligibility. Discipline, if they're disciplined at their home school, certainly fall under our code of conduct. But again, we already do that with the career centers. If there's a discipline problem at the career center or an eligibility problem, that still comes through me on our end, even though it's technically our kid, but it's still, they go to another school. So those are the areas that we're kind of working through on what is their opinion, because it does come to a board vote, or it will come to a board vote in the future if it passes.
And I'd asked you, and this does include the junior high.
Seven, 12, and it does impact competitive balance.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we do want to kind of think about that. Just like if we have a kid that open enrolls, if they come in before 7th grade, it's only one factor that would multiply with the factor for the sports. So if, for example, football is a 7 multiplier, so if we had a kid that open enrolled in 7th grade and after, you would add 7 to your competitive balance total. In this situation, right now, the way it's written, all students would fall under a tier 2, whether they came in 7th grade or not. So it would be a 2 times your multiplier factor, that is an football, which is 7. You would add 14 students to your competitive balance roster. The vast majority of our sports are small enough in Division III that I don't think that would impact. However, a couple of our sports are right on the verge of falling to 4, which, depending on the sport, may or may not benefit us. With the private schools in 4, you never know. But it's something to think about as we kind of, move forward with this if we go through it. It's a great potential opportunity, but we would need to have some definite guidelines in place to make sure.
But you're more comfortable now with it being
Absolutely.
checks on both sides.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can't be forced to take a student.
Think you're off the hook.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item 3, discussion and approval of minutes for the April 10th, 2023 board meeting. That would take us to
Page 8.
page 8. Any discussion or questions in regards to that board meeting? If none heard, we'll move on to item B, which is vote to approve. Motion by John Walter, second by Sean Shook, to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Liberty Union-Thurston Board of Education held on April 10th, 2023, as printed. Ms. Boyer?
Ms. Cato? Yes. Mr. Hookrattle?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Shook?
Yes.
Dr. Waller?
Yes. Item number 4, monthly financial statements. Ms. Boyer?
Okay, you have our monthly report. Don't have a lot to say with it. If you go to page 8, that's our interest.
always like to look at the interest now.
Yeah.
It's so much better. And then page 9, we're at 83% of the year, and our total revenue's at 96% collected. And our total expenditures are at 73%, so we're doing really good. And page 10 is the income tax, what we received this year, and then I have at the bottom what we received the years before and how much the increases were from year over year. So this year, over last year, we received an additional $492,803.23. And then you have our bank reconciliation. And then you have our bills paid. And on page 3, towards the top, check one, I guess a little down from the top, 100453 to Rush Truck for $114,081. That was for our new school bus. $45,000 came from the school bus purchase grant, and the rest was the general fund, which was $69,081. And this is the bus we purchased. It's actually for next year. And then on page 6, a little down from the top, 100527, Village of Baltimore, $30,169.84. That was for our elementary school and middle school resource officers, and that's paid out of the ESSER grant, the ARP grant, ESSER 3. And then down further, 100536 to Meta Solutions for $16,062.34. That was progress book training, and that came from the general fund. And then we have donations, which we have the change in that. So the first part of the donations that we're going to vote on will be $250 from St. Christopher Church to the high school musical, $50 from Dan Rowley to the 8th grade Philadelphia trip, $1,513.08 miscellaneous donations through Showtix to the high school musical, $400 school pulse panel, U.S. Census Bureau gift card to high school principal, $14.19 miscellaneous donation to the elementary library, and $95 miscellaneous donation to 8th grade Philadelphia trip. And that is what I have for that section. Then we will have a second vote for the other 2 items on the donation list. So if you want to do the first vote.
Okay.
That's some separate votes, right?
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll move on to item E then, would it be? Vote to approve the monthly financial statements.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Sean Shook, second by Carol Cato, to approve the monthly financial statements as printed above. Ms. Boyer?
Mr. Hookrattle?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Shook?
Yes.
Dr. Walters?
Yeah.
Dr. Cato.
Ms. Cato?
Yes.
Then we have the separate vote.
Okay, then we'll move on to the separate items here. 4F, which would be monthly financial statements, donations that require a separate vote. $400 from the LU Athletic Boosters to softball, and $574 Roby's, and I believe that's RP3 LLC, or is that correct?
I was told it's
Okay, we'll go with
what's on here,
with
but I will
RP
check and make sure.
RP2 LLC cross country. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I think I won.
Okay. Motion by Sean Shook, second by Carol Cato, to approve the monthly financial statement donations that require separate vote due to being athletic in nature. Ms. Boyer?
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Shook?
Yes.
Dr. Walter?
Yes.
Ms. Cato?
Yes.
Mr. Hookrattle?
Abstain.
Now, is this separate here? Is that the same thing?
Well, we have a section within it that's separate.
Okay. So 4E, vote to approve monthly financial statements.
That we just did.
Okay, so it is the same thing then?
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
okay.
we took care of all that.
Okay. Let's see, move on to number 5, which is new business financial, 5-year forecast and notes. Ms. Boyer?
Okay, you're approving the 5-year forecast and the notes this time. In the past, it's always just been the 5-year forecast. And the best I can figure is some people weren't actually doing the notes too. So, or maybe not even giving them to their board members. So you now approve both the notes, which you've always been given. Other than that, our forecast is using the assumption that if House Bill 33 would pass, using the fiscal year 22 base for funding, that's how we did this forecast. The governor had asked for it to be at fiscal year 2018, but then it was the Senate or the House, I think the House, was it the House?
What's that?
That changed it to the 22.
Yeah, I think it was the
I
House.
think it was the House.
Yeah.
It still hasn't passed yet, it could go either way. Mike and I discussed it, and we felt comfortable going with 2022. It really doesn't make a big difference on ours. It goes like down 30,000, up 30,000, it just kind of bounces between $30,000. So we went with what we felt had a better chance of passing. And that's all I have on the forecast.
Does anyone have any questions for April or Mike on the 5-year forecast? No, that's good. Move on to item B then in that section, permanent appropriation adjustments for fiscal year 2023. Ms. Boyer, do you want to speak on that?
Sure. The 200s and 300s, those funds, they brought in more money than we expected, so therefore just asking to be able to appropriate the money there. The other was just a small $30,000 to the 022, and that's just, it basically self-funds itself, and you just need that to finish out the year. That's what I have with that.
Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, move on to item C, which is service providers, new business financial, service provider Com Resource, contract period July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. Service provided annual phone license, fee of $1,195. And then service provider Huddle, October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2024. Service provided to purchase streaming platform software to support the athletic department, fundraising, creating highlight reels, and review game film.
And
I think that's what
the
we're pulling out,
huddle
right?
is, yes, we're pulling the
That's the
huddle
one
for a
that's
Oh,
separate.
That's the one that's on the other deal.
Okay,
I'm pulling that
okay,
one out.
she didn't have it in, okay. Okay, so that one will be pulled, so we are only including in that one the Com Resource.
Yes.
Item D, vote to approve new business financial.
So moved.
Do we have a motion?
Second.
Okay. Motion by John Walter, second by Carol Cato to approve items in the new business financial section. Ms. Boyer?
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Shook?
Yes.
Dr. Walter?
Yes.
Ms. Cato?
Yes.
Mr. Hookrattle?
Yes. Okay, then we will move on to the other item, which is the Huddle service provider. There again, the contract period is October 1st, 2023 through September 30th of 2024. There again, to purchase the streaming platform software to support athletic department fundraising, creating highlight reels, and review game film for a fee of $11,400. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sean Shook, second by John Walter, to approve the new business financial service provider item that requires a separate vote due to being athletic in nature. Ms. Boyer?
Mr. Shook?
Yes.
Dr. Walter?
Yes.
Ms. Cato?
Yes.
Mr. Hookrattle?
Abstain.
Mr. Moore?
Yes. Okay, item number 6, new business personnel for employment. We have Melissa Dilly, secretary, middle school, contract period, secretary salary of scale step 1, 1-year probationary period per OBC Article 6.01, effective July 26, 2023. We have Renee Johnson, custodian, elementary and middle schools, custodial salary, scale, step 0, 1-year probationary period per OBC Article 6.01, effective May 22nd, 2023, pending positive background report. We have Brendan Reagan, maintenance grounds for the district, maintenance grounds salary scale, step 0, 1-year probationary period per OBC Article 6.01, effective date May 22nd, 2023, pending positive background report. Item B, which is resignations. We have Nicole Clark, school RN and van driver for the district, resignation effective August 2nd, 2023. Curtis Ewing, English teacher, high school, resignation June 30th, 2023. Olivia Holcomb, first grade elementary school, resignation, effective date of August 2nd, 2023. Teresa Nixon, behavioral IS in the elementary school, resignation, effective June 1st, 2023. And Chelsea Poole, English teacher at the high school, resignation June 30th, 2023. Item C, certified contracts, and there are a lot of them, so I will not read through those.
Seriously?
They're all listed. Mr. Hookrattle says that he will gladly do it. So we have, first, we have certified continuing contracts. Excuse me, we have certified 2-year contracts, certified 1-year contracts. Item D, extended days. Mr. Tom Duplensky, guidance counselor in the high school, 30 extended days. Lisa Fouts, guidance at the middle school, 15 days extended. Chris Turner, VOAG teacher at the high school, 50 days extended. Brandon Thomas, VOAG teacher, high school, 50 days extended. Wendy Buskirk, librarian, elementary school, 5 days extended. Alexandra Harrison, library at the high school, or librarian at the high school, 5 days extended. Kelly Savage, technology, 10 days extended. And Carissa Lehman, IT, CTE, 10 days extended. Item E, supplementals. There again, there are a number of supplementals that I will not go through. They are listed there. Item F, administrator contracts. I will go over these, I guess. Marcus Alford, middle school, high school, assistant principal. Step 3, contract second of a 2-year, 214 days. Caitlin Ashbrook, elementary school, assistant principal. Step 8, second year of a 2-year, 214 days. Jennifer Blackstone for the district, curriculum director. Step 8, first year of a 2-year, 255 days. April Boyard for the district, our treasurer. Step 6, third year of a 3-year, 243 days. Roger Cade, high school principal. Step 11, second year of a 2-year, 255 days. Tim Harris, elementary school principal. Step 11, second year of a 2-year, 214 days. Sarah Hayes for the district, student services director. Step 7, first year of a 2-year, 220 days. Michael Johnson for the district, our superintendent. Step 10, third year of a 3-year, 255 days. Amanda Meacham, high school assistant principal. Step 1, second year of a 2-year, 214 days. And Mr. Tim Turner, middle school principal. Step 12, first year of a 2-year, 220 days.
I want to make the correction. Marcus Alford is only middle school now, not middle school, high school.
Okay. Thank you, April.
Thank you.
Kind of like that, huh, Marcus?
I do. I love my position, okay?
Item G, supervisor, non-OC contracts 2023-2024. I'm almost out of wind on this. I think I'm just going to defer those. Those are listed there as well. So we're going to move on to item H, which is vote to approve new business personnel. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sean Shook, second by John Walter, to approve items in the new business personnel section. Ms. Boyer.
Mr. Shook,
Yes.
Dr. Walter,
Yeah.
Hold on just a second.
Sorry, I just realized, for the technology coordinator, it's 255. Didn't we change them all last year to all be 255 if they were 260?
Yeah.
So
Cleric
Dirk-
order.
So Dirk, Chris, the
255.
first of 2 years should be 255 days.
So what you're saying is, Jennifer, I should have read all those too as well.
I was
Just
gonna
that
interrupt
one.
you when you got
Just
to
that
that
one.
one.
My apologies,
Okay.
but good catch on your part. Okay, so back to, we do have the motion by Sean Shook, second by John Walter to approve new business personnel section. April.
okay. Mr. Shook,
Gotta vote again?
yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Oh, you changed
Dr.
them.
Walter,
Yes.
Ms. Cato,
Yes.
Mr. Hookrata.
Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes. Item 7, new business personnel. These items must be voted on separately. A, certified contracts for Jill Shook and Madison Nugent, 2023-2024. Jill Shook, high school, master's plus 30, step 25, and then what's that, 27?
That means
parentheses?
that's if we paid on each salary line,
Okay,
she would be on a step 27.
okay.
But that's during the skip period.
Okay, okay. And then it's a continuing contract, and then certified 1-year contract for Ms. Madison Nugent, elementary school, master's plus 30, step 5, second year of a 2-year contract. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by John Walter, second by Carol Cato to approve items in the new business financial for this section. Ms. Boyd.
Ms. Cato,
Yes.
Mr. Hookrata.
I don't know. What is this? I'm serious. Like, which one am I? Is this one that have to do
You
with me?
can, you can vote on
Okay,
this
yes.
one. Mr. Moore
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
getting
Mr.
frustrated.
Shook.
Abstain.
and Dr. Walter.
Yes, you can.
Thank you. Duly noted.
I thought he was trying to be funny.
Yeah.
There's so many things. I don't know which
Next
one.
one.
It's cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Item B, certified contract for Katie Hookrata, 2023-2024. The contract for Ms. Hookrata is certified continuing contract, elementary school, master's plus 30, step 20, 22, continuing contract. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Carol Cato, second by Sean Shook to approve the item, new business personnel in this section. Ms. Boyer.
Mr. Hookrata.
Abstain.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Mr. Shook.
Yes.
Dr. Walter.
Yes.
Ms. Cato.
Yes.
I'm a letter.
Subject, letter C, certified contract for Alyssa Compton, 2023-2024. Alyssa Compton, elementary school, bachelor's degree, step 4, first year of a 2-year contract. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sean Shook, second by John Walter, to approve the item new business personnel in this section. Ms. Boyer.
Mr. Moore.
Abstain?
Mr. Shook.
Yes.
Dr. Walter.
Yes.
Ms. Cato.
Yes.
Mr. Hookrata.
Yes.
Item D, resignation for Zachary Shook. Zachary Shook, custodian, elementary school, middle school, purpose of resignation, effective date May 1st, 2023.
Just poking at.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Carol Cato, second by John Walter, to approve the item in this section, new business personnel. Do I, Ms. Boyd?
Mr. Hookrata. You can.
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Shook?
Abstain.
Dr. Walter?
Yes.
Ms. Cato?
Yes.
Item E, resolution for non-renewal. Let's see, new business personnel. Be it resolved, do I need to read all this?
Yes.
Yeah, better.
Yes.
Be it resolved under section 3319.11 of the Ohio Revised Code that the Liberty Union-Thurston Local School District Board of Education, following the superintendent's written recommendation, does not intend to reemploy Jerry Jacobs, a teaching employee, after the expiration of his current limited contract of employment. Be it further resolved that the treasurer is authorized and directed to give written notice to Mr. Jacobs by June 1st, 2023 of the employee's contract non-renewal. This resolution is presented for approval at the May 8th, 2023 board meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sean Shook, second by Carol Cato, to approve the items the item in this section, new business personnel. Ms. Boyer?
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Shook?
Yes.
Dr. Walter?
Yes.
Ms. Cato?
Yes.
Mr. Hookrat?
Yes.
Item number 8, new business athletics, installation of steps, handrails at the baseball and softball facility. Superintendent recommends approval in lieu of obtaining 3 quotes for the work. Work performed by Dave Cotner. Work to be done, installation of steps and handrails at the baseball softball facility, cost of $15,000. Item B, athletic summer camps. There is a large list of those that I will not read, go through. You have them there in front of you. Item C, athletic director contract, 2023-2024. Ms. Janet McClaskey, high school, middle school athletic director, step 6, first year of a 2-year contract, 214 days. Item D, vote to approve new business athletics. Do I have?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sean Shook, second by John Waller, to approve items in the new business athletics section. Ms. Boyer?
Ms. Cato?
Yes.
Mr. Hookrat?
Abstain.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Shook?
Yes.
Dr. Walter?
Yes.
Item 9, new business other. A, memo of understanding with Columbus State Community College, College Credit Plus 2023-2024. Superintendent recommends approval of the College Credit Plus memorandum of understanding for the 23-24 school year with Columbus State Community College and authorization for superintendent to sign the memorandum. Item B, MOU with LUTEA, addendum to Article 8, individual contracts for 3 permanent subs for the 2023-2024 school year. Item C, the graduating class of 2023. The following students are recommended by the superintendent and high school principal to attend graduation ceremony, contingent upon meeting all graduation requirements, having paid all dues and fees, and having no disciplinary constraints. And we have a list attached file to that. Item D, exchange students for the 2023-2024 school year. Thomas Winter from the Czech Republic. Host family is Greg and Melissa Coulter. Grade for the 2023-2024 school year will be the 12th grade. Item E, field trip. Let's see, we have the 8th grade Philadelphia trip with Prime Tours. Mr. Keith Robinson is the teacher requesting this. The dates are May 15th through the 17th of 2024. The cost will be $500 per student, $600 per chaperone, and excuse me, and $700 chaperone for in a single room. Item F, EBC, Emergency Management and Safety Plans, second reading.
I'd like to say something about the
Yep.
8th grade Philadelphia trip.
Okay.
The group that they actually fall under, you know, like we have athletic section, or they're the Washington DC trip group. That's the fund it falls under. They take a Philadelphia trip too, if they don't do the Washington DC. So that's their true name, is the Washington DC.
Okay. Okay, item G, IGAE Health Education, that's a second reading as well. Item H, IGCH-R, also LEC-R, College Credit Plus, second reading.
Page 29.
Okay, item I, IGBEB, Dyslexia Intervention and Supports, second reading. Item J, JHG, Reporting Child Abuse and Mandatory Training, second reading. Item K is vote to approve new business other. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sean Huckrow, second by Carol Cato, to approve to approve items in the new business others section. Ms. Boyer?
Mr. Hookrattle?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Shook?
Yes.
Dr. Walter?
Yes.
Ms. Cato?
Yes.
Item 10, other matters as may properly come before the board. Are there any?
Yeah, Bill, I do have something.
Yep.
One thing I'd like to discuss, and is just talking about the baccalaureate. Because that's something we've traditionally had done that, and with COVID, we kind of got away from it. And then I think, this year, I think there certainly was the opportunity to reinstigate that. And I think that's something we really ought to look at doing. I mean, these kids, they're part of the community, and a lot of these, and nobody's required, obviously, to go to baccalaureate, but I think a lot of the churches do support these kids a lot. I mean, we talk about the fifth quarter that they sponsor, and it's an opportunity for family, to celebrate too, and the community to celebrate, and that's why I think we really need to look at reinstituting the baccalaureate. It's probably a little bit late for this year, but next year I think we should, really push for that. I mean, kids are going to be like, if you get a kid an option, they might not take it. But if you get a kid an option and say, listen, and it goes back to their parents, I think we probably would have seen more, interest in it. So that's just my feelings on it. I think we really should look at that again. It's not mandatory, but I think it's a way to let the rest of the community show the support that they spend, 13 years on these kids, I think it's important. So I wanted to kind of put my 2 cents out there, and if you guys have anything. Yeah, Mike.
Yeah. Well, I had a chance to think about that after you brought it to my attention. So it's one of those things where I think COVID got in the way of the culture.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and so we were going to be able to do it again. Traditionally, we would ask the students, we got some volunteers to help put this together, and then we hosted it at our high school. It really has to be done that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because it has to be student-sponsored,
Mhm.
because, religious activity. One of the things that we were able to do this year, and that also lost during COVID, and that was to meet with the ministerial group.
Mm-hmm.
And that turned out to be a good meeting.
Yeah, and there was a lot of turnover in that group too, which I think you're
Right.
right. It was COVID, it was turnover in the ministerial group that kind of led to a lot of this.
It was a very positive meeting, and we helped, we were able to help them with some things. So what I'm thinking is, next year, when we have those opportunities to meet, one of the agenda items I'm going to have with the ministerial group is, you need to help put it on your radar. Find out who the seniors are in your class,
Mhm.
and together, come together as ministers and those kids, so that they can follow the lead of someone, try to put it back together,
Yeah.
rather than what we were doing before, which didn't work. It worked once upon a time, but it didn't work this year. So I think that's what we'll do next year.
No, I just wanted to bring that, because I think that is an important part of, it's a transition from these kids, young adults, into young adulthood. So I think, that's a chance for a lot of these other community groups to participate too. So, no, I appreciate that, Mike. No, that's all
Okay. Move on to item 11, executive session. An executive session is requested by the superintendent. Board of Education, which one, what does it fall under?
Yeah, for this evening, A7 is one, D and E.
Okay. The Board of Education, the Liberty Union-Thurston School District, by the majority of the quorum present at the meeting, does hereby declare its intention to hold an executive session item as listed below. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Sean Shook, motion by Sean Shook, second by Sean Hunkrattle, to go in executive session for the reasons stated above at 8:37 PM. Ms. Boyer?
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Shook,
Yes.
Dr. Walter.
Yes.
Ms. Cato,
Yes.
Mr. Hookman.
Yes.
We are in executive session.